I'm Jennifer Della Quadri, and this is Subtle Shifts, the podcast where you'll learn how to transform your life from the inside out, one small, meaningful shift at a time. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast. Happy almost summer. I am recording this a little bit in advance, but the week that it comes out is the week that my youngest daughter will be graduating from high school. And graduations are always a fun time for reflection. And also the idea that I will no longer have a child in the K-12 schooling system is kind of a shock to the system. I mean, it's been 15 years having a child in the school system, but also as a former teacher, public schooling and K-12 has been a big part of my reality, and a lot of that's going to change. It's exciting. It's a little bit scary. I'm really proud of her. Maybe you can relate. But I wanted to share that with you. And also, as I'm recording this, I have Georgie, my dog, at my feet. I took him for a 4.5-mile hike today, so I'm hoping that he's going to stay pretty mellow at my feet, but we'll see. If any delivery trucks come or there's any noises outside, he might start barking, and we'll see. Fingers crossed. I wanted to share something today that has been coming up in a lot of my coaching conversations for a while, and this is actually a podcast episode that I've wanted to record for a while because it's something that anytime something comes up a lot on my coaching calls, I want to bring it to the podcast because it's something that resonates with a lot of my clients. And it's also something that a lot of my clients struggle with. And so the concept that I'm going to be sharing today is from a book or a series of work from the author and business coach Dan Sullivan and also Dr. Benjamin Hardy. They wrote a book called The Gap and the Gain. I very first heard of this a few years ago, and just being an entrepreneur, I am in contact with other entrepreneurs and we always recommend books to one another. And this book came up, and it's very much presented as a tool for entrepreneurs. But me being the person that I am, I always take concepts that I learn for my growth and ask myself, how might I be able to roll this out to my clients or my audience to help them? So the concept itself was created for entrepreneurs, but it very much does apply to just general life experience. And before I get into what it is and how it works and how you can implement it in your life, I just want to take a little time to share a personal story. So in 2019, that was the year that I officially launched my business. I left public education and became an entrepreneur. That's also the year that I did my coach certification, and it just kind of launched the trajectory of me being an entrepreneur. And at the time, I was green, I was new, I was excited, and I had so much to learn. I knew how to coach. I felt good about that, and I was honing in on my craft, but I was brand new to owning a business. It was new to me. And I had a lot to learn. So I remember at that time, not knowing what to do, I was looking at people who had already achieved what I wanted to achieve in the way that I was hoping to do it, and looking at them and learning from them. What are they doing? How are they growing? How are they attracting new clients? And learning from them and their processes. So I remember at that time in 2019, I started learning the basics of marketing and growing a business. And the thing to do that I learned was to create some sort of lead magnet, some type of free resource to attract people to come onto your email list, building a funnel, building an email list. And I remember getting emails regularly, like weekly emails from one of these people that I would look to. And I remember thinking at the time, gosh, when I have an email list and a lead magnet and a funnel, I will have made it, right? Fast forward probably 2-3 years, I had the lead magnet, I had the funnel, I had the weekly email going. It was consistent. And at no point did I stop and think, oh, I've made it. I've reached that finish line. I am winning at this. I've got it all figured out. No. And the reason for that was because at that point, the goal had changed. So yes, I figured that out, but then there was lots more things to figure out. I was now working on how to grow my podcast, how to speak in front of public audiences, how to network. There was always something more to learn. And I was still telling myself that I wasn't achieving the goals that I wanted to achieve. I'm not where I need to be. I'm not where I want to be. I still have so much to learn. My email list isn't big enough. Like there's all these reasons why, okay, I'm not there yet. I've still got a ways to go. And what I realized at that point, I would like to say right away, it wasn't right away. It took me a lot longer than I would like to say. What I realized eventually was like, I'm burning myself out. Because when there is no clear path forward to like, I've made it, I've figured it out, it's like you're running uphill in a race where the finish line keeps getting moved. You are never getting to the finish line, and that is exhausting. And my example I gave you is in business, but this shows up in so many other areas of life. Like think about when you were in high school. Gosh, when I graduate high school, I will have made it. Or when I graduate college, I will have made it. When I get that job, I will have made it. When I find that person, when I get married, when I take that trip, when I have that amount of money, when I have that car, when I have kids, when my kids graduate, that finish line keeps moving. And it's exhausting because every bit of information is the feedback is you're not there yet. You've still got a ways to go. You're not making it. You're not keeping up. And this comes up in my coaching conversations so often because we've all got that inner voice that tells us we're not good enough, right? Listen to my gremlin episode if you'd like a little refresher. But it's that protective inner voice that's kind of pushing you and also nudging you to stay small, but also to protect yourself and hold yourself back because putting yourself out there is a little too scary, a little too vulnerable, etc. But when you're not reaching the goal, when there's a goalpost and you never get there, your gremlin gets really loud. That inner critic gets really loud. You're not measuring up. You're never going to make it at this. And it feels like shit. So then you start burning out, you start backing off, you lose your motivation. You think, I guess I just don't have what it takes. And who wants to work toward goals with that mentality? Not me. And so that's where this concept, the gap and the gain, comes in. So let me tell you first about, I'm going to give you the overview and then I'm going to dive into what the gap is, what the gain is, and then I'm also going to share with you tips on how to implement this into your life and make it a practice. So overall, the concept is based upon there's where you are right now, there's where you were, and there's where you want to be. And so often, we as humans, instead of looking at how far we've come, we look at how far we still need to go to get to the thing that we're wanting to get. That's just in general how our human brains work. Our brains are problem solvers. There's a problem, we're not where we want to be, we need to solve it. So first, let me explain to you. I'm going to explain to you what the gap is, and then I'll explain to you what the gain is. So you'll know you're in the gap when you're devaluing the progress that you've made so far. You're measuring yourself up against what could be or should be, or against some ideal. And the past is a problem because it isn't what it should have been. And there's a lot of negative energy around just never being good enough. So yes, you made progress, but you feel worse as a result because you're not where you want to be. Also, being in the gap, a lot of that is about other people, and it can come up with relationships in your life. So you can be in the gap when you're thinking about this other person. Teenagers, for example, looking at how far they still need to go to be an independent adult and that they're never going to get there, or that you're worried that they're not going to get there, or they need to check off all of these boxes, they're not measuring up. You're in the gap when that happens, when you're thinking about it. Also in relationships, personal relationships, family relationships, coworker relationships, when you're focusing on what still needs to be done or what's not being accomplished yet against some ideal that you're hoping for, you're in the gap. And the problem with being in the gap is you're measuring yourself against ideals, as I mentioned. And that ultimately is a losing battle because ideals are not stable. They're going to change. Just like I told you, the finish line keeps moving. They're going to change based on where you're at. So 10 years ago, your ideals were not the same as they are right now. They shift as you shift. They move. It's a constantly moving target. The way that they describe it in the book, it's like being in the desert. There's a horizon. You're walking toward the horizon that just keeps on moving. You're never going to get there. You think you're going to get there, but it just keeps moving forward, just out of reach. And these ideals that you have, they're always a stretch that's way beyond where you are at. And the other thing too is that ideals, to keep in mind, it's not bad or wrong or a problem to have ideals. It's great. Ideals set your direction. They're not the measure for your success. So going back to my story, getting the email list and the funnel and all of that, like that was the direction I wanted to go. This is something I wanted to do. But I was making it mean that because I hadn't done it yet, I wasn't there yet. And when I would get there, success, all the fireworks go off. But the ideal itself isn't the target. It's just the direction. This is where I'm headed. Being in the gap is also based on a need that you have that's placed outside of yourself. So it's something that you are placing or hinging your energy around success and happiness on. And oftentimes it's to avoid facing the truth within. Like if I have this thing, or if I achieve this thing, or if this person does this thing, then I'll be happy, then I'll be successful. You think that you need that ideal to achieve whatever it is that you're wishing to achieve. Also, when you're in the gap, there's just this endless needing that just isn't going to go away. And it's only going to get worse when you're there, when you're in the gap. And like I mentioned, it really does lead to burnout. It makes you more reactive, and it makes you feel like you're just a victim to life, like things just don't go your way. Here is what it is to be in the gain. Some people confuse the gain as being like, I'm grateful for all I have and gratitude, but that's not it. Yes, gratitude is important. Gratitude actually ends up being the result of being in the gain. It's not the actual process of being in the gain. When you're in the gain, it's the antidote to the gap. You're more proactive, you're creative, and it's more internal versus external ideals. You're never measuring yourself against anything external. You're only measuring yourself against yourself and where you were before. So you have ideals and clear and specific goals, but they're not a tool for measurement of worth or happiness or success. So you're really just measuring yourself backward from where you were. And you're seeing, noticing, and appreciating the progress that you've made. And what ends up happening when you're in the gain is you're going to start seeing the wins and the gains that you may have missed. You start seeing things in a different light. And you'll notice that things are happening for you and not to you. That's seeing the gain and the benefit of what's happening. And it really does boost your confidence, because confidence is built on past accomplishments, not on future achievements. So when you proactively think of the growth that's been made, it automatically boosts your confidence. And the perspective is that everything is happening for you and not to you. So it's not just a mindset thing. Yes, it has a lot to do with mindset, but there's a lot of science-backed research associated with it. And I'm not going to go into great detail because, of course, you can learn all about that in the book. But simple, really straightforward point is that when you're focusing on your accomplishment and your growth, it releases dopamine. You'll feel happier, more motivated, and more excited. And because you're more happier and you're having all of this positive emotion, it's going to lead to more creative thinking and better decision making, higher performance, more determination, all of those things that you need to move in the direction that you're wanting to go. Whereas when you're in the gap, you're releasing cortisol from stress and frustration. I don't know about you, but when I'm working towards something in my life, stress and frustration does not get me there. In fact, it could push me in the opposite direction, and it makes the experience just absolutely miserable. So that is why focusing on your growth and the accomplishments that you've made so far can be so helpful. So you may be wondering, okay, I get that in theory, but how do I apply this in my life? Well, I'm going to share with you how. What you can do is just start proactively, regularly recognizing your progress. And what they recommend in the book is at the end of each day, setting aside some time to notice and recognize 3 wins from the day. And these can be anything. It doesn't have to be associated even to a specific goal. It's just looking at the 3 wins that happen. And they can be lessons learned, progress toward your goals, or just experiences that you had. 3 wins. And know that whatever you focus on expands. So when you're setting aside time to really reflect on your wins, you're also expanding your capacity to believe these wins will continue to happen. Versus, gosh, I didn't get this done. I yelled at my kids. I was reactive. I didn't finish dinner. The dishes are still dirty in the sink. The overarching message is I suck. And what you focus on expands. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to focus on the feeling and the idea that I suck. Why not focus on what's working? What did go well? And let your energy go there. So that's a practice that you can do at the end of each day. But if you'd like to take the work a little bit deeper and be a little bit more intentional with it, here are a few questions that you can ask yourself in just a journaling sessions. And you could pick and choose the ones that are resonating. You could do them all. It's up to you. Question 1 is, how have you grown as a person over the past 3 years? Question 2 is, what are the biggest things you've learned in the past 12 months? Number 3 is, what are 10 important things you've accomplished in the past 12 months? The next one is, what meaningful experiences have you had in the past 90 days? How are you clearer on your goals and vision than you were 90 days ago? In what ways is your life different and better than it was 30 days ago? What important progress have you made in the past 7 days? And what progress have you made in the past 24 hours? It's like that zooming out, going from like 3 years ago and kind of zooming into more of the present, all the way down to the past 24 hours. So it'll help you conceptualize just in this past 3 years, what kind of growth has been made. And it can also help you understand for you, what does it mean to grow? And why do you want to grow? And when you're reflecting upon these questions, it's important to tap into the feeling that you get when you think about it. And also notice if when you're answering these questions, you get into the gap. Like you might think about how you've grown and over these past 3 years. And at the same time, you might have a conflicting thought of like, yeah, but 3 years ago, I thought I'd be XYZ. And then you start beating yourself up for not getting there yet. Then you're in the gap. Catch yourself and shift yourself back into the progress that's been made. And know that just by doing that, you're more likely to make progress toward the things that matter to you or that you're working toward. And know that any experience can be turned into a gain, even the ones that feel awful, even the negative ones, even the tragic life events we've all been through. That's not to look at it and think, gosh, I'm so glad that happened. No, it's being able to look at it when you're ready to do so through the lens of what is the opportunity here? What is the learning here? And how might I be able to apply this in my future life experience? And you're becoming what you focus on, that you're continually expanding, growing, and evolving, not toward a finish line, but toward the evolution of who you want to be as a person, hitting goals along the way. But really, it's about the journey. And I know we hear that over and over and over, especially listen to a lot of self-help books and podcasts. It's easy to understand in theory, not as easy to apply in your life. But this strategy, this gap and gain in these questions, and also shifting your focus into what's working, can really help you bring a little bit more of that, look how far I've come energy into your life. And if you're working towards something, whether it's a business goal, a personal goal, a dream that you would like to bring to fruition, let's talk. I am an expert at breaking through the noise and telling you exactly what's holding you back and what you need to do to make your dreams a reality. Your first step is just a conversation with me. So click the link in the show notes to get on my calendar, or just send me an email at coachdelaquadri@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in. I really look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me. If you're ready to take the next step in transforming your life, be sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And if something resonated with you today, I'd love to hear about it. Share your thoughts, tag me on social media, or leave a review to help others find the podcast. Remember, the smallest shifts can create the biggest transformations. I look forward to hearing from you.